Hey, welcome back. Next up, we have the Scrum values. And so there are 5 values in Scrum: focus, openness, commitment, courage, and respect. Todd and I are going to walk through these one by one, giving you a high level overview of each one. And then, we got some more homework for you. So, Todd, you want to kick us off with your favorite and we'll work through?
Yeah, we'll start with the quote. Before we do, I want to mention that the Scrum values were entered in the Scrum Guide in 2017, right? I
Yep.
think which is significant. It really is significant in the fact that it recognizes that there's behavioral components to how organizations adopt Scrum. And really great quote that Ryan and I love from a friend of ours. And this comes from the book Extreme Programming by Kent Beck. Wonderful book. Still pull it off your bookshelf. If you don't have it, buy it, read it straight away. But what Ken Beck says about values in his book is, without values, practices become rote, which means that we're just going to do them for the sake of it. So unless your team adopts a common set of values, you're going to end up in a situation where it's rote. You're just doing things for the sake of doing them. Right, Ryan?
Yeah, if you want a direct path to zombie Scrum, bad Scrum, dark Scrum, Scrum that needs to be fixed, eliminate the Scrum values from your practice. It's likely one of the quickest ways to get there. So these are really important. We need to make sure that these values are vibrant, that they're flourishing on our teams. So Todd, where should we start?
Yeah. So why don't we start with we'll go. I think we'll go around the wheel here and just describe each value, right? And we'll start with courage. And I think it's interesting to talk about the courage because for me, I think Scrum team members have the courage. We're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to stand up for what we believe. We're going to tackle the tough problems. We have the courage to say when we don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's the way I really view courage. So we kind of have this medal here hanging on it because this is the courage to do the right thing. Right.
Yeah, I like that. And in order to be able to do the right thing, we need to be able to focus.
Mm-hmm.
So this focus, what it means is when we start something, we're going to try to finish it before we start the next thing. We're going to focus on solving a problem. We're going to focus as a team, perhaps on something like a goal, a sprint goal, for example, or at a larger level, a product goal, or perhaps a focus on quality through our definition of done. I'm mentioning ways that the Scrum framework makes focus implicit, right? Or explicit, actually. So focus is really important. We focus to finish. We focus on goals. We focus as a team, not as individuals, right? And we're trying to stay aligned and focused in order to ultimately deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. And in order for us to focus collectively as a unit, there needs to be respect. I respect a team member as an individual. I respect that they have their own thoughts and beliefs and that they're trying to be courageous and have focus on things. I respect people as individuals, right? And I think that that helps to enable these, right?
Yeah, and that leads over to openness. And openness is a difficult one to discuss because it's so similar to courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But openness, as far as our understanding goes, has evolved into the idea that we need to be open to the fact that we could be wrong, right? This is a really big component of openness. Just understanding that, yes, what we're saying we believe to be true. We think we have data. We think we have good ideas. But if a better idea, opposing data, stronger data shows up, we've got to be open to the idea that, wow, we could be wrong here. So we inspect, we adapt, right? We're willing to actually make the change, and that openness is so important. So it's openness to different ideas, openness to different people, to different structures, to different organizations. It's that openness to the fact that maybe my way isn't the best way.
Yeah. And last year, probably the most understood of the Scrum values is commitment, right? And we did a lengthy YouTube talk on this for one of your daily Scrum videos, Ryan. Commitment does not mean that we're focused and committed explicitly to scope in a sprint. There are commitments in Scrum specifically called out to the sprint backlog. There's a sprint goal commitment, there's a product goal commitment, and there's a definition of done commitment. But when I look at this commitment, Ryan, I think about how I want to commit to being a good teammate.
Yep.
How I want to commit to these values. How I want to commit to the behavioral aspects that make me an excellent professional, which means being courageous, focusing, respect, and openness. Commitment here in this sense does not mean that we are committing to sprint backlog items. I say that very explicitly. And if you're getting ahead of yourself, you don't know what the sprint backlog is, maybe rewatch this after that video. But commitment, make sure we're careful with this one. There's a big difference here with commitment when it comes to committing to being a good teammate and committing from a behavioral perspective than there is to committing to scope, which is not part of the Scrum framework.
Yep. Those are the 5 Scrum values. As Todd mentioned at the beginning, these are integral to being able to have the right behaviors that we need to see on a Scrum team. A lot of these will lead to being a great teammate to your fellow Scrum team members. And they're just absolutely essential to avoid the trap that Kent Beck very wisely points out, that the lacking of these values, or lacking of values in general, will lead to rote work. And that we're just doing things for the sake of doing them, which will not lead to the best results. And so we hope you enjoyed this discussion of the 5 Scrum values. They are critical to your work, your homework. Before we see you in the next video, what would you expect to see on a Scrum team where these values, where these things are absent? Right? What would you expect to see? Let us know in the community chat. We'd love to see your answers, and I'm sure your fellow classmates will have some great ideas here too. And we'll see you in the next video.